Alright. So I once said I would never, ever watch this movie again because it seriously fucked me up. So a little backstory before I get into this movie. A few years ago, quite a few years ago now, my friend and I've talked about before, Eric, we used to peruse the aisles of Family Video or pawn shops, and we tried to find anything that was horror. But what we really liked to look for was independent horror movies because those are some of the most fucked up movies you can find, and we like that. I still say we found a movie that had a hooker that ate people. He doesn't remember it. She was like a disfigured hooker, and the guy fell in love with her. And if anyone knows the name of this movie, I'd like to, but it's easy internet. I could have looked it up, but I don't know. But this movie was one of them that really just sort of fucked with me. Rewatching it again, my friend joked, like, hey, there's this stuff that they put on the face that melts it. I'm gonna get some of that shit and put it on your face. I'm like, I don't think so, man. Fuck you are. The fuck you are, man. No way. But they do to these kids in this movie is. I understand being bullied. It wasn't a major thing for me. I think it's the first time I'm actually disclosing this to people. But when I was in middle school, there was this kid, bigger than me, stronger than me. Literally someone I had known. I've not really personally known, but someone that I had gone to school with almost all my years since the third grade. Okay, when I was in third grade, I had to repeat the third grade again, and ever since I repeated third grade, I knew this guy. He was in the same classes. He was in some of the classes with me. Of course, he was more popular than me, but small town, we knew each other. Not personally or anything, but we knew of each other, I should say. And all of a sudden, one day, I think I was in 8th grade, and he just decided to start picking on me for no reason. Pushing me around, throwing me down, and I never said anything to anyone because I believed that one day he would get what's coming to him. Karma's a bitch. I never really said anything except for, why are you doing this to me? And, it's very similar to the bullies in this. Why not? Something to do. And eventually the teachers caught him. The worst thing you can do in those type of situations is to escalate it. Fight back. They say, oh, hey, fight back against your bullies. But if you do that, you're really making this situation worse. Had I done something to fight him back, not only would I have made the situation worse by him fighting back towards me, if he's just kind of pushing me around and shoving me down, I start getting physical, with force. He starts getting physical with force and starts hitting me. He never hit me. Always just pushed me around and picked on me. He never once really struck me. But if I had started that would have started the chain reaction. He would have hit me. We would have had a fight, and we both would have gotten in trouble for the fight. So I just let him keep picking on me, and eventually he got in trouble for it. People saw, and they said something, and he got in trouble for it. And you know what? I don't think I ever saw him again. Might have gotten expelled for it, but he never picked on me again. The reason I told this story is it's very relevant to this film. These kids are picked on by these, more popular kids because they're not popular. None of these kids are particularly ugly or anything, wrong with them. I was the fat kid. That was my problem. Still am, you know what I'm saying? But, so there's no real problem. The only actor I could see working if he was younger, was Mark Donato. You don't know who that is. He was on Degrassi The Next Generation. He played Derek. And he was a part of a duo of characters that were, like, one was the younger brother of one of the characters, and he was his best friend, and they were sort of goofy comic relief characters. But the thing is, this movie came out in 2010. Up until 2008, Derek was one of the goofy characters. In season 8 of Degrassi Next Generation, he became what they were going against in this movie. He became one of the bullies, hanging out with the bullies and becoming, aggravated to his own friend. And that's why I have a hard time believing that he would be one of the ones picked on. Had this come out a couple years earlier, before I had seen season 8, I would believe it. But no, I have a hard time believing it. And what they do to these bullies is, I can't even say they deserved it. I mean, there's a scene in the bathroom where they break the kid's camera, and they ask, why are you doing this? And they say, because we can, or, something like that. Because you can't stop us, or just something of that degree. And, it only fuels the fire. And, it's a slow build at first. Because they talk about this party they're going to go to. The first scene of this film, actually, is this disfigured girl going into a diner and asking for food. She pays for it, of course. And then this kid goes, it's in black and white, and the kid goes, what's wrong with her face? And yeah, and that really, goes to this film we cut to before that. And we have, these characters are talking about a party they're going to have. You see Dane, who is Donato's character, and he's planning something with this house. And he's, it's a house that he got from his uncle, I guess, which, if he's under 18, he can't legally inherit a house if he's under 18. It would go to his parents, which then he'd be able to have, but it's not in his name, But we see this neighbor guy or whatever, someone that knew his uncle, and he comes into play later. They also show us there's this kid named Curtis, who is one of the popular kids, but he's actually a decent person. He's not like the rest of them. And they're like, don't let him in the party. We don't want him there. And, when they see him there, Robbie, he's the Indian kid, he's like, well, I could tell him to leave. No, he's here. It's done. I'm like, no. Just because he's there now, you could do something. You can, say, hey, I want to show you something. Knock him out. Or something. When they drugged him with this stuff, right? All you had to do was take him, drag him out, have the people on the security thing drive him to a location where he wouldn't know where, because they took everyone there in the truck. So they don't know where the place is. All you had to do was incapacitate him, take him out of there, put him back in a truck, drive him to where they parked their stuff, and that's it. Although they never say how he got there, because they said that they were watching the trucks. So who knows, he might know. And there is a couple scenes of filler, really. There's a scene where the 3 popular guys, they get stopped by a cop who takes their weed. And I'm like, why was that scene in there? Was it necessary? And then we cut later to Curtis, who has escaped because they let him go. Or he's escaped because Robbie let him go, and then Robbie dies, which is really a sad scene. It's like, why did you kill him? He told you he wasn't supposed to be there. I just told you what you could have done. But, no. And then, he finds the cop. The cop's freaking out. And here's the thing. The cop is shot at. Not one shot hits him, but he still dies. And then later, Dane says, you got some help. But the cop was shot in the head. When every shot that was fired at this cop missed him. I was convinced. Like, it barely hit him. Like, if at all. I was convinced the cop was just knocked out, incapacitated. But no, he was shot in the head, apparently. And then he gets to the neighbor. The way the cop is smoking the weed when he finds him. But then he gets to the neighbor, and the neighbor, of course, can't be helpful, because if he was, there wouldn't be the rest of the movie. So, the neighbor guy is abrasive towards him, and very angry because he has the gun, but it's the cop's gun. Tries to tell him, he won't listen. And then he sympathized with him, telling him that, he had family that was in the wars. His grandfather fought in Vietnam, and his dad fought in Desert Storm and got the Gulf sickness or whatever it was. Then he starts to listen to him, and that doesn't do anything because the security guards or whatever kill him. It's one of the traps go off and kill him, and I don't know. And then the guy, I'm not going to repeat the word, but Curtis, who is African American, gets on the phone and tries to tell the cops. He quickly changes it to saying that Negroes, I can say Negroes, right? Negroes were attacking the old whatever estate. I can say that, right? Negroes, that's appropriate, I think, right? African Americans, If I offend anyone, I'm sorry. I did not mean to. Sorry, I lost concentration. The African Americans, with the slur, is the word that he used, which I guess is perfectly fine for them or for African Americans. I don't want to say them. I'm not trying to be racist. For African Americans, because I guess they own the word, right? They own it. They they after years of oppression, right? They say we're gonna own that shit. You should. Whatever racial slur you're called, own that shit, man. Own it. And fire it back at people. Say, yeah, you know what? Sure. But, Anyway, after that little public service announcement, CBS cares. Anyway, so the cops eventually do come at the end, but by then everything is broken down. I think the worst thing they could have done is, remove their masks, because that shows who they are. Then they figure out who one of them is anyway, and they all take out their masks, and then, like I said, they put this one shit on the girl's face, and that's why she's disfigured at the beginning and the end of this. And then they have this one girl cut off, they start cutting off her fingers, having the guy cut off her fingers. They have him cut off her fingers, and then he can't do it anymore, and so they have her cut off his fingers, but she won't do it, and that's when they smear the shit on her face and say, do it in 2 minutes, or it's gonna, if you don't do it in 2 minutes, this shit's gonna start working, it's gonna dissolve your face. It works shorter than 2 minutes, because it's as soon as she refuses to do it, it just so happens to start working. Ain't no way that was 2 minutes. No way. And then there's some torturous scenes in this. I couldn't even watch some of this. It's not entirely torture porn, but it's harboring on that. It was around that time frame, I guess. But eventually, even Zane's people have enough, and they shoot him because he shoots Curtis, who comes back for some reason. How he got there without the security people finding him, I don't know. But he gets back in, he has the cop's gun, and so Dane shoots Curtis, and then Emily shoots Dane, and then the squirrely head kid, the mop top kid, I don't remember his name, shoots her, and then the cops come in, and he shoots himself. And then you have this scene where they have this reporter who's very close to the screen. Are we ready? Okay. I am live. I'm just like, why are you so close to the camera? And then, so then you go to the school and there's Curtis. He's got his arm in a sling, and then there's this one kid on a motorcycle. And I guess it's supposed to be one of the people who were guarding the barricade, but we never seen this kid before. And what happened to Travis Telford? You know, Spanky from the Little Rascals? What happened to him? Like, he reveals his face. Did I miss something? Is he killed? Did he disappear? What happened? I don't know. What I'm saying is that if you kept the fucking masks on when the cops got there, all you would have to do, if you knew the cops were coming, they can't see you, all you'd have to do is go into a back room, have you tie yourselves up, and take your mask and stuff off, tie yourself up, and you could be victims too. Sure, there might be some guilt, but I'm just saying. This movie is... I don't even know what to give it. I don't know what to give it. I really don't. Because it's entertaining, but it's fucked up. It's seriously fucked up. You know what? At least, at the most, it's decent. And so, I'm just going to give it right in the middle. I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. It's a decent flick, decently made. It has a message. Like, don't pick on people that you think are lower than you. Put it that way. Don't pick on people who you think are lower than you. But you don't need to be this extreme. I mean, you know, I'm just saying. And it is funny that an actor from Degrassi, who wasn't around during the specific episodes, but there was a character in Degrassi Next Generation named Rick, who was bullied because he had anger management issues when he was dating one of their friends, and well, in a fit of anger rage, pushed her onto a rock, which caused her to go into a coma, and then she's just written off the show. I guess she went to a different school. But Rick comes back in season 4 and is constantly bullied. Now, I know you're saying, but this guy might deserve it, right? Yes and no. Yes, he did that to Terry, but it was an accident. His anger got the best of him. Take it from me. I have anger management issues myself. When you get in the heat of an anger, problem, you're not in control of your actions. And I'm not saying it's completely dismissible. Yes, he should have gotten some kind of punishment. They just took him out of school. But I'm just saying. And then there was the whole bully issue, and the principal did nothing about it. But, and it ended up in a school shooting in the episode. So, yeah. So, what are your thoughts on the final? Let me know in the comments below.